Thanks a lot, Domenica, for your introduction. It was really very, very interesting, and I really hope you're going to achieve your goal, because this is going to make a big difference for all of us. And this is as well also answering to some of the last few questions to Jody, which, by the way, great introduction, Jody, great presentation. Was a great support for my little speech about humanoids. I mean, my answer to the last two questions is quite easy. I mean, to support also the future of labor, we need to start working about an ecosystem around these new technologies, because there are tons of activity, tons of things that are still not there but need to be developed together. But starting from kids at school, I mean, it's really something new that we are facing, and we need to start moving. And the reason why we are not so active in Europe is still a big question mark. But it's pretty simple, the answer, I mean, and I'm sorry about that, but the lack of the Italian institution here, just presenting with a video, by the way, in Italian, it's a part of an answer. And either we start changing really something, or it's going to be quite difficult, because the rest of the world is moving a lot and in a very fast way. You know, when we talk about AI, it's like talking about soccer. Actually, today in Italy, it's definitely better to talk about AI, okay? Unfortunately. Talking about physical AI, you know, AI embodiment, it's natural to talk about humanoids, which is again quite a tricky argument nowadays, you know. Everyone is talking about humanoids. You can find tons of videos, tons of YouTube, everything. And the situation is sometimes a bit disturbing for people like us, which is investing time and money to develop a project, to develop a company around this opportunity. All in all, around the world, there are about 250 projects of humanoids. Most of them born in the last 2 years, 250. 75% of them come from Asia, 75%. We usually were born thinking that they don't have labor issues, okay, in terms of labor shortages. But probably something is happening over there. Can you guess, I'm not going to tell you how much is the American percentage, but can you guess how much is the European percentage of humanoids project? No, I'm here, sorry, you know, it cannot be zero. You know, I would suggest zero, I feel a little bit depressed. At least one is here. Well, anyway, it's less than 5%, okay? The rest is America. But as Domenica was saying, we have heritage, we have culture, we have rules, we have a completely different approach in terms of ethical approach. So it's really kind of a big question why, you know, we are not starting here. And I think that probably part of the answer is the scenario that we are picturing about humanoids. There are, you know, different extreme situations. The most advanced technologically, you know, view and vision of humanoids is Elon Musk. You know, in a few years from now, no one of us has to worry about work. Humanoids will take care of everything, everything. Hopefully, we're going to get some kind of, you know, income, and that's, of course, a picture which is not definitely helping the humanoids to start actively working in our environment. But there's also the opposite side, which is as scary, you know, as this, which is the situation with the people, a lot of people, which still believes that horses, you know, Jody was mentioning it, are better, you know, just riding horses and going back to roots was just a better life. Maybe not for the horses, though. So there has to be a situation in between. Today, as we see it, the situation in between is also a bit confused, because if we think about the strong heritage in terms of industrial automation that we have in Europe, the big players of industrial automation in Europe, it's kind of strange that there's no one single company thinking about humanoids as a development of their current proposition. Amazing. I mean, can it really be that everyone is going into a nightmare, something which, you know, I didn't mention the fact that out of the 250 projects around the world, there are tons of investment. I mean, there are companies already valued 40 billion without having sold one single unit of humanoid, okay? So it's strange that who is today a current strong player in industrial automation is just forgetting about it. But we have example in the past, you know. I need to mention just one name, Nokia. So it's difficult to understand how we can play a role and how we can build an ecosystem without a clear direction. There is another part of these projects, of this behavior on humanoids, which is mostly linked to the entertainment humanoids. When it comes to the 250 projects, and we start shrinking down, you know, with project with safety, certification, rules in order to really have products working, you realize that there are probably less than 10 players around the world ready to really act in industrial and healthcare sectors. Most of the other projects are mingling around with entertainment, mostly. Those are the purposes. And those, it's quite risky though, because first of all, it's not answering to the reason why of this new technology development. I don't think we need humanoids to run the marathon or to just play soccer or to fight. So it's important to clarify, why do we need humanoids? What's the reason why? For us at Oversonic has been quite a simple decision, and I have to say even a lucky decision, because we were just facing 2020 when we founded the company, and you all very well know what happened in 2020, you know? We were in the middle of COVID pandemic. Something really new for all of us, something really difficult to handle. And as I asked my co-founder a very simple question, you know, would something like a device that we are developing, a prototype of humanoid, be able to support a very simple, basic triage in an emergency room? And exactly in that situation, most of doctors and nurses, unfortunately, got COVID, and unfortunately, some also risked their life, okay? And that was easy. So the reason why for us to introduce this kind of new devices, new technologies is very simple. To support humans, wherever humans are risking their life, their health situation, strenuous jobs, dangerous jobs, toxic substances, a lot of different scenarios which are still today a big part of what we are living every day. You know, there's people thinking about taking vacation on the moon, and there are 400 million workers injured every year doing their own 8 hours shift at work. So our focus is, let's try to introduce humanoid machine for jobs that humans deserve not to do. And that's true in industrial application and healthcare application. It was easy for us to understand the reason why, and I have to say that we were quite ethical in our mindset. As a matter of fact, we also became right away in 2022 benefit company to make sure that the so-called guardrails about the use of this new technology was somehow mandatory, statutory. But even if our approach was quite, you know, focused on that, reality was that labor shortages took by far the major push on that. Today, this is an issue affecting every sector, everywhere, and after COVID is really, you know, a completely different work attitude, and we need to take care about it, because third shift, night shift, weekend shift, every kind of activity, more and more if it's with dangerous situation, heavy situation, it's becoming really a big issue. And there are not a lot of answers. It's amazing. I mean, we talk a lot with investors. We have to talk a lot with investors, of course, to keep going with our project. And somehow, you know, the discussion is about technology, about the rules, about this and that. But it's amazing, and unfortunately, I struggle in transferring to investors this information, how big is the demand. Today, the demand of humanoid support, machine support. You know, humanoids is just a way to have an easier introduction in complex environments without having to change the layout, the processes, and so on. But anyway, support to take care of activities that today nobody wants to do anymore. So this situation with the demand larger than the offer is as well a problem, because we are receiving demands from very large international corporations around the world. And they come to Carate Brianza, which is a place 25 minutes away from Como, very small, where we are located. We receive people from all over the world asking for our machines. Of course, the problem is that if they cannot compare many other projects, it's not so easy then to get to the final resolution, which we fortunately, step by step, are doing. We're taking care of introducing this machine mostly, with a very clear focus to safety. Before we were mentioning, man in the loop, the human centricity. That's mandatory. I mean, AI can take care of part of the activity, but no one will leave, an industrial process or an healthcare situation, an hospital, in the hands of the AI. So AI can act also in an autonomous way as much as everything has been mapped and defined. AI can support decision with also something new coming, some problems arising, only if everything has been mapped. We cannot use just LLM open in this situation for industrial purposes and healthcare purposes. Cannot easily work, and cannot be certified, cannot be safe. And we don't need to wait for new rules to come. Actually, I'm pretty scared about the new rules to come, because if we are not working according to today's rules, and if we are not building altogether an ecosystem, and if we are not providing solution to the problem which is there, which is mainly related to labor shortages, well, then we will have to accept a solution coming from somewhere else, developed with some other rules, with some other ethical approach, and there's no other way. I mean, just thinking about, I have the Italian number, not the European number, but just for the, how do you call it, the RSA in English, the Result for Senior Living, okay? And aging population is another big part of it, okay? In Italy, we have 4 million patients, users, call it as you want. 4 million today. In the next 10 years, it's going to get up to 9 million, and that's just the demography development, okay? 9 million, more than double. Every day, actually, every year after COVID, those structures are losing 10% of the people. If we wait, we just don't find a solution like that, okay? Unless we take up pills, and that's an easy solution. But that's something that I think we need to start answering. Safety, as I said, it's important. Man in the loop, it's as well important. The rules are there. When we talk about safety, it's not only safety according to the industrial rules, EMC compliance, machine directed compliance, CE mark, all these kind of things. But we need to take care about GDPR, privacy, AI Act. Because data security is as important as physical safety. Try to look to some of the videos available on YouTube. If you try to see humanoids, robots fail, it's amazing what you see. When those machines, which are mainly developed for entertainment purposes, fail, fall down, they're really dangerous. I'm really concerned that so far, fortunately, nothing happened. But that's also an easy answer. I mean, why should a humanoid machine walk? Years ago, Amazon was thinking about using skates for the humans, and now they want the humanoids walk, okay? We do humanoids on wheels, but that's a very easy equation. We do humanoids according to the certification needed today to play in the industry. I finished with a very short, let's say, selfish speech, saying that, besides the very important role that finally we are taking in the semiconductor manufacturing with a key player where we finally are deploying a fleet of humanoids, I'm very proud to say that in a few weeks, beginning of May, we will start the third clinical trial for our machine. As I mentioned before, we are active in industrial and healthcare application. And we're going to enter in a clinical trial in a major hospital here in Italy, assisting in pediatric intensive care, okay? Just to say, which is the real need and the reason why of this machine. We don't need humanoids to dance, to fight, to jump. We don't even need humanoids to walk on the stage with Melania Trump. But there is a huge need of humanoids working alongside by humans. Thank you very much.
Thank you.